Okay, here we go.
Hi and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. Today I've got a very special guest with me. I've got Austin Burke, which I'm very excited. You may know him, maybe you don't. How do I say this right? Flick Fan Nation, is that right?
That's it. Yes.
Austin is a content creator in the ways of movies, TV series, amongst others. When we originally were going to do this review, I think it was 2 weeks ago, he had 34,000 subscribers. He's now on 36, so he's growing quickly. Over 6 million views. And I believe you started your YouTube journey in 2014. At least that's what YouTube says. And
Yes.
you've recently been accepted in the Online and Film Television Association. So
Yes,
you're
sir.
going
Yes.
for it. For those of you that don't know who Austin, I'm going to let Austin introduce himself.
Ruben, listen, you are one of my absolute favorites out there. I go to you for all of my Netflix reviews, but I truly appreciate you having me on this channel. I've been doing YouTube for quite a while now. It really started to pick up in 2016. And you know, more recently, I've been thinking about making it my full-time gig, my full-time career. And the goal at the end of the day is to become, you know, less of a certified critic and more of a respected critic. That's kind of what I'm going for. But I absolutely love it. Love all things movies. Constantly watching, whether it's a Netflix or an Amazon or just going to the theater. But you do what you're passionate about, and I really do have a passion for this. And I appreciate you having me on this video. I've been loving the series, the videos that you're pumping out, and just you having me on here. It's an absolute honor, and I can't wait to talk to you today.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to see what little tidbits I can get out of Austin. A little bit about your history. Talking about that, normally when you start your videos, you do like a really fun intro. I was wondering if I could ask you to do your famous, I say famous because in my household it is, because we laugh our head off when you do it, the Matthew McConaughey, something off the top of your head.
Sometimes you just like to sit there and twiddle your fingers thinking about what movie experience you're going to have next. And the only time it ever matters to me is when Matthew McConaughey pops up and I just say to myself, all right, all right, all right.
Oh, that's going to be my ringtone. I'm going to just put it in the phone. Amazing.
Oh man.
That's so good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay, so I'm going to say one word to you. Vine. You have a bit of a history on Vine.
I do. You know, Vine is really it really was 2013, 2014 is where I thought my life was headed. You know, I got up to about 120, 130K on there, you know, worked with some companies like Five Gum, DraftKings, worked with some people that went on to have much bigger and better online careers than I did. But you know, I was still in that up and coming phase when Vine decided to shut down. So on Vine, I was more of I liked the jokes. So I did a lot of like kind of what I thought was funny at the time, and then I go back and watch it today. I'm like, that's really cringeworthy. But I loved it and I enjoyed it and I got a lot out of it. And so it was really the transition from Vine to YouTube that was the difficult part, because I didn't start my YouTube channel until, and I didn't start promoting it until, you know, probably around 2015, and that's when Vine was dying. So I was too late, basically, to kind of capitalize on all of the Vine stuff. But for what it was, and for all the fun that I had, it was really a great time, and I got to meet some really cool people, people that I still talk to this day. So yeah, I know it's just one word, but you're right. There's a lot of history with that app, and a lot of history lost when it went down.
Yeah, it was a kind of a big deal when it went down.
Yeah, it was crazy. And Twitter, too, you know, Twitter buys the app and they decide we need to cut something, and it's almost immediately after they buy Vine, we're just going to cut this company we just bought, and everybody's like, hold up. But it's that transition to YouTube. You know, Logan Paul, King Batch, all of them transitioned. So I figured, even though I was a bit later, I figured why not transition and do what I'm passionate about, and that's talk about movies. So that's really where that came from.
Where does your passion for movies come from? When did you know? When was like, this is what I want to do?
I mean, really the first time that it was around 2012 when I was still, you know, I believe I was a senior in high school, and that entire year was all about, so quick history on, we started this news show in our high school, and it was my grade, and we started it my sophomore year and carried it until senior year, and I was the news anchor, I was the director, and I was in charge of all comedy skits. And it was from those comedy skits that we did, and we kind of, wrote our scripts and we played characters, and I'm like, man, and I never knew I had that passion, but I really love doing this. You know what else I love? I love movies. So that entire year, 2012, 2013, I went back and I started watching all of the films that I've missed out on, all of the classics that, maybe I didn't grow up with and I needed to see to become engrossed in movies. And then when I get into college, I start taking film classes. And so I took, screenwriting classes. I took what it means to be an actor and what it means to direct a film. And that's where I got the passion of directing. So I directed a lot of, live action, non-scripted television shows in college, but my passion came from that and just kind of transferred into film and filmmaking and all things that had to do with movies. And so I made it an effort to watch as many movies as I possibly could every single year. And every year I want to top myself. So whatever I do this year, next year, I want to watch 5 or 10 more. But it really all came from my senior year of high school, just finding that passion. And I would say the movie that really jump-started that for me is No Country for Old Men. I had seen the film before, but I went back and I watched it for, I believe, a second time that year. And that just, who directed this movie? Oh, okay, it's the Coen brothers. Okay, who wrote this movie? And from there, it really consumed me in a good way, but it absolutely did. And that's really the reason why I love movies so much to this day.
All right.
Call it friendo.
Cool. You say a lot. I would say a lot. In a few of your reviews, there's sometimes this line that comes across where you go, "I'm not really. The ultimate goal is I want to make films." Have you been involved in making films other than kind of students, and are you going to? And how does YouTube help to, kind of push you in that direction?
That's a great question. A lot of it comes down to the area that I live in. So I live in Kentucky, and Kentucky is not a place that really, we barely get screenings, we barely, people around here, I don't think they appreciate movies as much as we do our community, our space on YouTube. And nothing against them, it's just, it's a different environment. So I have worked with a few friends on some films that they've done, some friends with, that are a bit bigger scale than just we're going to make a movie and we're going to put it on YouTube. But I've never actually had a role in creating a short film or a movie or even just a producer role in something that went a little bit further into, say, a film festival or whatnot. But I've always wanted to make an effort to do that. So what I used to do in college is I used to make short films, and I used to just, nothing that I would put out to the world. We'd enter competitions, right? And we did win a couple of those competitions, but they were very local. And not to say that the people that I was competing against, they weren't capable of making a good movie, but it's like, when you're competing against people in an area that don't necessarily care as much about movies, if you win an award there, you're just like, oh, that's great. What's the next step? But then it's, I have to finish college. I have to find a career. I have to get a job. But now I'm at the point to where, YouTube it means so much to me, and I'm so passionate about it. I want to take YouTube and what I'm doing on there, which is ironically critiquing films, and I want to kind of do what Chris Stuckman is doing, and I want to go into making films. And that may require me to move away, and that may require, my wife to make some sacrifices, but she's just as passionate about me doing it as I'm passionate about me doing it. And that really helps me out. So yeah, I would love to make the transition one day. Still absolutely going to focus on YouTube because that's my love, that's my passion, is talking about movies. But once I get more free time, absolutely, I want to start maybe doing 1 or 2 short films over the next couple of years. So that's the goal.
Awesome. Amazing. So this is a question I've seen a lot of your subscribers ask. So yes. I'm a writer. I write as much as I can, but the balance is really tough because I put out 2 or 3 videos a week if I can. Family life, just stuff going on all the time. What happens? How do you kick out so much? I think I started calling like Ersten Burke the Burkenator. Because you kick out so much content. For all of us, we'd love to know, how do you do that?
Oh, it's a great. Well, it starts with a lack of sleep. That's that's where a lot of it comes from. So my daily routine, basically, Monday starts. I go to work. I come home. I watch a video, or I watch a movie, or watch whatever I need to watch, and then I make a video. And recently, more recently, I've started to take time off of work to focus on this, because my job went from working about 35 to 40 hours a week to working about 20 something, 30 hours a week because of YouTube. So now I have 1 to 2 free days in the week where I can literally go home and just binge. And on Fridays, I get up at 3 a.m. because that's when everything drops on the East Coast. So I'll get up at 3 a.m. I will watch without stopping, and I'll keep it on because the television's facing the kitchen. I will go into the kitchen, I will make some food, and I will continue to watch whatever I'm watching on Netflix. And it really is, it's just a nonstop. Now, when I transition into YouTube full time, because that's the goal, of course, I'll have a lot more time to do this. I'll have a lot more time to watch things and maybe take a break, take a breather. But I've always told my friends and my wife this is, qualities or quantity is great, but it's all about maintaining the quality. And there have been times where I put out 3 or 4 videos in a day and I'm like, was that the best I could have done? So I have questioned it a few times. Am I doing the right thing? But then again, there are so many things out there that I just want to get reviews out there for people, whether it is, and you do the same thing on Netflix. Netflix, they tend to drop quite a few things every weekend. It's just nonstop, and it's 2 shows and a movie, and then I have the theatrical movies, and that's what I'm most passionate about. Because Netflix, while their shows are great, their movies don't quite get up there to a lot of the movies coming out in theaters. So I still try to do the theater films every Thursday night, and then Friday and Saturday, for the most part, unless we're visiting family or I'm visiting friends, for the most part, it's just nonstop streaming. And I know it does seem crazy to some, and I completely understand that. But I want to grow this as a business. I want to grow this as something, the community continues to get larger, where we can all come together and just talk about movies. And once again, there are a lot of people out there that do it, and people that are great. You, for example, you come into my channel, drop a comment, I come into your channel. That's the community aspect. That's what I love about YouTube. And so I want to continue to grow that, and I just want everyone with me just to join in, and less hate and more just appreciation for film, right? And whether it's watching all of these movies and television shows, I feel like the more I watch, the more knowledgeable I am about what I'm talking about. So I can soak in a genre here and a genre there, and not necessarily learning everything there is to know, but it's learning enough to where I feel confident talking about it, critiquing it, and having other people respect my opinion. And that's really why I watch all of the things that I watch. Sometimes I do go overboard, absolutely. But I do love it. It's passion. I haven't lost the passion yet. We'll see how it goes in the future.
It's leading me to my next question. Are you afraid at all about burnout? Because how much can you do without? It's not just so much that you're pushing out so much content. It's how much audiovisual stuff can you watch, and it just not just saturate your head.
Burnout is scary, and I've gotten to the point to where I've come close. Not come close to burning out entirely, just come close to, I'm 6 episodes in to a show. I still have 4 episodes left, and I just sit back and say, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, because I've already watched so many things today. My friends texting me saying, hey, you want to go outside and live life and see nature? And and I'm just sitting here like, what is nature? What is the outside? But every time it feels like I get to that point, and a lot of the times I see shows that I don't love, but I feel like every time I get to being burned out, there's something, whether it's a random movie on Netflix that captivates me, or an episode of a show that's just like, that's it. That makes this all worth it, because while you can get burnt out on certain things, when you see something that you love and a character that you gravitate to and just writing that blows you away, that's when I'm like, yeah, this is worth it. Because once again, it comes back to seeing something new, seeing something innovative, and just giving my response to people, because they're asking me, Austin, what'd you think about this? What'd you think about that? I can't answer that unless I've seen every ounce of whether it's a show or a movie. So I just feel it's this, hate to say it like that. It's like a calling that I have to watch as much as I can, but I need to start measuring those things out a bit more. And when I get more time, I'll be able to do that more thoroughly. But yeah, the burnout, it's always in the back of my head. I hope I never get there. I'm gonna say I'm never going to get there, but you never know, especially with what Netflix is doing, pumping out 17,000 shows a week.
There is, unfortunately, there is a bit of a stigma sometimes when it comes to YouTubers in general and film critics and film reviewers, and however you place yourself, whichever zone you put yourself in, there is a bit of a, is that a job? Do you call that work? What do you say to people that say, you do what for a living?
Yeah, that's it's something that I'm afraid I'm going to start getting more of, especially as I start transitioning into YouTube as a full-time gig. It scares me. It scares me to death because it's a stigma that's kind of placed in your brain. And I'm not going to say by the generations above us, but you look at it, it feels like a very millennial job. It feels like a job that is not as respected. And I hate to put it like that, but not as respected as having a day job under a boss, this and that. To that, I say, if you're doing what you love and you're doing what you're passionate about and you're building that to a place that you're comfortable with, then why not? Why not make that your job? And I know you love writing, you're a writer. Why not? Like, we are here to do what makes us happy. We're also here to make money, and that's very important. But if we have a passion for it, the fan base, one, is going to grow, but two, that passion is just going to carry you to the point to where I think we all want to be. And we all want to be successful. I want to be successful, absolutely. I want to be respected, like I said, as a film critic. But I also want to be doing what I love. And as much as I love the day job that I'm doing right now, it's not YouTube. It's not my passion. It's not spending all of those hours a day watching a movie or a television show. That's what I love. And if I can capitalize on that and provide for my family, because that's the most important thing, is my wife and my dog. They are the most important things to me. So, if I can do both of those things at the same time, then my response to that is, why not?
Your process for putting out a video, a film review or whatever, the top 10, do you script, or is there an amount of information that you take with you? Do you have multiple screens? I know when I started, I scripted, and it took so long, and then I had teleprompter, and it's just so much effort. And I was just like, I think 40 reviews, and I was like, no, this is not working. But there's a balance where you really want to get all the information. You want to get it accurate. How hard is that for you? And sorry, it's like a two-pronged question. And have you gone back to look at some reviews of yourself, your old ones, and gone,
Yes. I absolutely, I look at my, we're going back to the bad place. The original, the first year, so 2016, is when I really started, because, I had the channel, but I didn't really focus on it. That's when I really started putting out the reviews and making an effort to do at least once a month. One video a month, and I'll be happy. And I go back and look at those now, and I'm sitting in my college dorm, and for some reason I had the idea, maybe I should put black bars above and below my head to make it look in the editing process. And I'm just like, what were you thinking? And then in terms of talking, originally I did make it more kind of what you were saying. It was more of a scripted video. I had all of these points written out, full sentences that I would look down, I would try to memorize, and I would do the video. And the video just took far too long to make. So after about, I would say 6 to 8 months, I realized that, I kind of need to sit back, relax a little bit, make it more of a conversation, and not sit and memorize line after line after line, because that, one, it does, I go back and I watch the videos, it feels a bit more forced, but two, it just takes too much time. And when you're trying to put out videos, even on a weekly basis, you need to conserve as much time as possible, not to, what we were talking about earlier, burn yourself out. So I started to get more into the process of writing notes, bullet points, very basic notes. I'll even I have a little notepad with the YouTube symbol on it that my wife made for me. It was nice. Where I take it into a movie, and if I can see, because a lot of the time it's very hard to see, I will just try to jot notes down. and then I'll come back because when I first started, I would lower my brightness on my phone, and then first 2 or 3 movies I did that. I'm like, I don't want to have my phone out in the theater, even though I'm taking notes still. So I try to squint. I look like a 80-year-old man in the back, just back there, with my. But it works for me, and because I don't want to forget the points, very important points. When I'm talking about a movie in a review, whether it's good or bad. So yeah, it's more of a fluid process now than it used to be, but it's still something I feel like every video I'm getting more correct. And I want to get there one day. I'm still not comfortable with where I'm at right now, in terms of, taking the notes and getting everything right the first time, because, I do jump cuts. And sometimes I'll try to get that point out. And I'm sure you've had, everyone in this industry, you try to get that point out and you just can't get to. And you're like, what am I trying to say? And I've come to points in my videos before where I get 6 minutes in. I just did this a couple weeks ago. I got 6 minutes into making a video and I said, I don't like any of this. So I just deleted the whole thing and I started completely over, right? It's this process, but the more you do it, and here's my advice. If I don't consider myself someone who gives the best advice, because I'm not there where I want to be yet, but here's my advice. Do it until you get it right. You're not going to master it the first time. You're not going to master it the 100th time. I've been doing this for 3 years now. I've still not mastered it. Continue to do it, and you will continue to make it better. And you'll find your speed. Maybe your speed is, I'm going to write my videos out. I'm going to write all of my notes, and I'm going to say exactly what's on the paper. Some people have thrived with that. I don't work like that, but that is something that I highly respect. So that really is my process, and it's something I continue to hopefully make better every time I do a video.
I want to talk a bit about your actual shell of your channel. So where did Flick Fan Nation come from? And how come the color palette keeps changing?
Well, okay, so the original idea behind Flick Fan Nation, it basically just spawned from me I had a group of friends in college, and we called our group was called the Flick Fans. So we would text back and forth. It was like a 4-person group. And then I, of course, got into my channel, and they're like, man, you have a Flick Fan group, but it's growing, and it's all of these people subscribe to your channel. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I can't remember which review I did at first, but it was maybe, gosh, I don't even want to say which review, but all of a sudden I just go, what is up, Flick Fans? And I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of like this. So I'm going to make this my little thing. So eventually it just became this, where literally every single video I start out saying the exact same thing, and probably the exact same tone of voice, and it become this kind of like, this is our community. We are the Flick Fans. We're not a community that is. I'm a bit harsh sometimes, but we don't overdo it in terms of bashing other people's opinions. I like a space and a place to talk about films, and people who feel free to talk about whatever they want in the best way possible. And so eventually my wife, she was talking to me, and she's just like, why don't you just call it Flick Fan Nation? So honey, I'm giving you the credit. If you're watching, I'm not taking the credit. It really was her idea. And so that became this awesome. Maybe this could be on Patreon. I have a podcast called Flick Fan Nation. And from that, it kind of spawned into what I want to do for the future of my YouTube channel. And that is create a podcast on my channel, a live show every single week, which I've dipped my toe in, called Flick Fan Nation. Now, in terms of the color palette, it's just taken me so long to find what I wanted, because the first 3 versions of the logo that I went with were me. And I'm not a graphic designer. I love creating video graphics, but in terms of artistry, that is not me. I took a art class in college, and nope, not good. It's just I'm not good at it. But so finally, the most recent one that I got, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, my cousin, who does this for a living, created a logo and a color palette for me, and man, it completely blew me away. It's really what I've wanted for the last 2.5 years. Just something that looks a bit more professional than what I've had, because I see my logo that I designed, I'm like, it's just not there for me yet. And I started to go more into the retro music and the retro intros, and I'm like, Joe, if you can create a retro looking logo and a theme for me with retro colors, I would absolutely love that. He did it, didn't charge me a thing. One of the I was completely honored. Like, I almost teared up when I saw it, because I'm like, you he supports my channel so much, but you have done what I've been wanting to do for the last 2.5 years. And that's when I really started to take everything so much more seriously, because I look at that and I see something that hopefully will continue to grow, and hopefully that people look at and they're like, oh, that guy he's serious about this. It's not just some wacky logo. And like, I know you and, like Sean Chandler, people like that, you guys have really good, like a good graphic design, a good feel. You go to your page, you know where you're at, you know what you're getting into. It's that feeling. And I know audibly and visually, video-wise, you get that feeling when you watch their videos, but just going onto your page and seeing that color palette, I think, and I have that with like a Collider. I visit Collider and I'm like, that I'm here, the greens, I'm here, I'm on Collider's page. I wanted that for my channel, and hopefully it sticks for quite a while, and I just continue to make minor tweaks as opposed to changing my logo like every 3 or 4 months. But I truly am. I'm pretty happy with it right now, where it's at.
Wow. So now we know. You heard it here first.
It's a lot of stuff there.
Where did you get all your set stuff from? Is this the stuff you've collected over the years? And what's your favorite?
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, we have a lot of items that my friends, because they know I'm obsessed with superheroes, so they've bought me the posters, and my wife drew a couple of these over here, me as the Batman. It was my very first, our anniversary, she gave me that, and then there's one over here that she gave me, because once again, she knows I'm obsessed with superheroes. But a lot of it was, I'm going to get this, I'm not really going to have a place to put it. And for a long time, I used the green screen as my backdrop. And then finally, we got a 2-bedroom apartment, and my wife said, go for it. And I said, I want a legitimate background. So I took all of the things that I've collected and all of the things that my friends have bought me over the years, and I just shoved them all against this wall. Now it's not permanent, because, eventually we're going to find ourselves a home, and we're going to create something there, a full studio. But I really am happy with what it's turned into. And every time I get a little trinket at the movies, like this Toy Story thing right here, I'm just going to continue to add them to the set. So yeah, it really is it's a cool thing to finally have a place that's not, just what I did all of those years. And like I said, when I started in college, my backdrop was a television screen and a white wall. So it really has grown over.
Well, yeah, I think you're doing a bit better right now.
Thank you.
For those that want to be what you're doing, they want to go full time. They want to make YouTube be their goal. They've found something creative, whether it's film, writing, singing, whatever, on YouTube. Do you think, because you spend a lot of time on YouTube now, do you think it's harder to be a YouTuber, legitimate YouTuber, or do you think it's like ripe? What's your thoughts on the whole world, taken into monetization and stuff like that?
It is definitely, I'll use the word that you used, it's definitely ripe. I mean, it is a good time. Now, monetization-wise, 3 years ago was the best time, before they started changing all of the YouTube rules, and Google came in and switched things up a little bit. But now I think is a good time to join, because one, I think, even though we talked earlier about it being kind of a taboo thing, it is more accepted now than it used to be, and it will continue to be that way, because I think people will continue to kind of embrace the fact that, gaming, YouTubers, all of these things are legitimate careers. But two, and I don't want anyone who decides to do YouTube and they're just starting out, I don't think they should look at it as a business until they get whatever number they're comfortable with. I want you to look at it as more of this is a hobby, this is something I love doing. And from that passion, I think that passion is going to carry a select few people into something that could be considered a career. Here's what I say. If you want to be a YouTuber, be a YouTuber. Focus on what you love, whether it's watching movies, whether it's playing games, whether it's doing this, doing that. My brother has a YouTube channel. He has it's an interesting channel. It's a channel that does like the edits and all that stuff. Nothing bad, but like really funny videos. He has not revealed himself as the person who owns that YouTube channel, because he wants to be like one of those unidentified. Oh, it's kind of like a meme page. And he has more subscribers than I do. Fun fact, you're the first person I've told that in the YouTube space. So if you guys want to search for my brother, go search all of the meme pages on YouTube. But he started doing what he loved. He edited together like random funny clips of videos, and he just put it on YouTube. And it slowly turned into something that he loves doing. Same thing with me. I started because I love movies, so I take that passion and I put it into YouTube. And I can look at this space and I can say, well, there are so many movie review channels. Why? What makes me stand out? What makes me special? Honestly, I think the reason why you, Sean, a Zach Pope, a Griffin, all of these guys in our YouTube space, and of course you have your Jeremy Johns and a Chris Stuckman, it all comes down to, you know, how much we love doing what you're doing. It all comes down, I keep using that word, it's passion. If you're passionate about something, absolutely. But like I said, when you first start out, because I've been in this position for, 3 years just trying to build, you have to say, I need to be patient. If you have patience, then I think it will pay off for you. And once you start hitting those marks, whether it's your first 10 subscribers, you hit that 100 mark, felt awesome. That 1,000 mark, it feels amazing. When you hit those goals, there is no other feeling like hitting a goal that you've set for yourself on a YouTube or really in life. But once it's those numbers, for me, it's the visuals of seeing that, get to that 1,000 for the very first time. And it feels amazing. And at that point, you can look back, you can say, well, everything I put into making this, and this video, it's all paid off. So for me, I would say, take your passion, implement it. And if you want to do a page, don't wait, don't sit back, do it. Make it, do it, and you will continue to grow and it will continue to improve and you'll get better and better and better. And that's really my advice.
Yeah, just go for it.
Go for it. Absolutely go for it. And don't stop. And don't let people tell you to stop, because trust me, I've had plenty of comments telling me, you're not cut out for this. You're not good enough. You're good. And we've messaged each other before, Ruben. I know you messaged me and I've messaged you of just people putting out frustrating comments that basically telling you need to give up. But we're both still going, aren't we? We're both still trying to achieve this goal. And that's what I love that. I love that passion. So yes, go for it and do not let anyone stop you.
Yep. That was actually my next, in the darker side, probably my last dark question, the darkness.
The darkness.
How do you deal with trolling, negative comments, thumbs down, and do they actually ever get to you, or do you allow them to get to you?
They used to get to me a lot more than they do now. I'll tell you that. Well, when you're first starting out, and I was kind of used to it with Vine, but the thing about Vine is, you have to create an account as yourself. So when it's your profile picture, it's a lot harder to, they still did it. But when it's YouTube, you don't have to use your profile picture. You can just use a little egg or something, and it's Jeffrey 4976, and he tells me I'm an idiot and I should never do anything on YouTube again. That's just the way it goes, and I've started to accept that more now. Am I still all the way there to where I can ignore them? Absolutely not. I can't, because I look at certain comments and they kind of put me down. They do. They achieve their goal, and I used to be more, I'm gonna comment back and I'm going to tell this person that I know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm just like, good, have a nice day. Sometimes if they say something inaccurate, I'll say, that's actually not accurate. But the majority of the time I just block them from my channel. If they say something that has to do with, my wife or something that's on that point of negativity. And then a lot of times I'll just ignore them. You have to turn the other cheek on YouTube, because people look at you as someone who, my goal is for someone to look at me and someone to respect me for my opinions, my beliefs, the way that I talk, the way that I present myself. And if I'm on there fighting, saying, well, you're an idiot and you're this and you should never do this again, then, what's the point of me being on here in the first place? Because at that point, I have just stooped down to their level. So now I'm just going to block them. I'm going to ignore them. If they have an inaccuracy, I will correct them. But that's about it. You just have to play the game of turning the other cheek with YouTube, and hopefully I'll get better at that. But right now I'm trying my best.
Thankfully, I've seen the majority, from the reviews I've watched on your channel, the majority of your subscriber base, they're really encouraging, which must really help.
Oh my gosh. And I've gotten to the point to where I recognize faces. Not faces necessarily, but profile pictures or names. because it's the same person on every video. Thank you for doing this. Awesome, cranking this out. If it's a list video, they'll give me the list. If it's a movie, they'll talk about what they love. And it's this awesome feeling of, I think I'm kind of doing what I wanted to achieve. It's a community. It's a community of people who feel okay with sharing their thoughts. And that, to me, I see that and I'm just like, that's awesome. So 95% of the people that watch my videos are fantastic. And that's the way I want to keep it.
Yeah, so good. And now for something a little bit more lighthearted. Tea or coffee?
Ooh. I used to say coffee. I'm more of a tea person now. I'm more of a tea person.
Now English.
Yes, I've transitioned.
Do you drink it with a pinky?
I used to tell my wife when we first started, because in fun story, I never liked tea when I was super young. And then I start drinking tea with my wife because she's a big tea lover, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is really good. And now I feel fancy, and I always tell her, pinky out, honey. It's just, I love tea so much. Now we have all kinds in our fridge, so yeah, definitely tea now.
Okay, Coke or Pepsi?
Coke, 100% Coke. Mm-hmm.
Cake or biscuits?
Biscuits.
Dogs or cats?
Used to say cats, but now that I have a dog, dogs. I'm a dog person.
I've noticed I think a couple of reviews with your dog.
Yes, I love him. We got him about a month and a half back, and they say a dog's your best friend. I love this little guy. He is the best.
Okay, here we go for more controversy ones. Batman or Superman?
Oh, I have to go Batman. I love me a good Superman movie, but Batman, for me, he's just affected me more so than almost any other superhero, so Batman.
Okay. And the ultimate one, Marvel or DC?
Oh! Well, see, half the viewers.
Right!
All right, so I will give you an answer at the end. I'm going to say comics and animated movies, DC. I'm going to say live action films and more recent comics, Marvel. Overall, right now, I have to give the edge to Marvel just because of what they're doing in the movie space, and that's what I focus on. But that could change when Robert Pattinson's Batman comes out and DC starts getting their stuff together, because I have a good feeling that's coming in the distant future.
Nice. You go into quite some depth sometimes with some of your reviews, and I wondered, is there a hero that you think that you would ever go in depth, like do like a thesis, because you just so love, like you said, you love Batman. Is there a favorite film hero that you would love to just go really deep into? Who would that be if you had an hour just to talk about this character?
Honestly, and he's very popular right now, and it's a name that I'm looking at him on a poster right in front of me. It's Captain America, because I had someone tell me the other day, and we were just talking about the films. He's like, I don't know if Captain America's arc was anywhere near like a Thor's arc or an Iron Man's arc in the movies. And I just sat back baffled. I'm like, really? Because I think Captain America's arc, from his first movie all the way to Endgame, it's a guy who, was all about doing the unselfish thing. And then by the end of the franchise, he's making a selfish, but in a way that, you accept because he needs it as a character. I think he has one of the most fascinating arcs of any character, any superhero that's ever been portrayed on the big screen. So I could talk about Captain America for 2 or 3 hours, and I would love to just sit down and dive deep into his decision made in each movie and how that changed him, in my opinion, for the better. So Captain America.
Nice, excellent. I'd love to hear a big breakdown review of that. I think that'd be amazing. You've been talking about your different phases talking about Marvel, of what you think might come, and what they might do in Phase 5, and hopefully what we'll get in Phase 4. Of the ones that haven't been mentioned, is there a character that you would love to see be represented in a film or part of the universe?
I mentioned this in a recent video, just of the ones that haven't been announced or talked about yet. My answer is Moon Knight. I think Moon Knight is a fascinating character, and I think, not that Marvel's been looking for their own version of Batman, They got very close with Daredevil on Netflix, but of course that show got canceled. I think Moon Knight could be a Batman for the Marvel Universe, because his character is so, you can dive into every aspect and pull something from a comic that we've seen before, but they're doing it in a new way. They're doing it in a way that we haven't necessarily seen before. And casting wise, you know, I threw out Keanu Reeves just because he's been talked about for everything, but you got to get someone dynamic, because you're really playing 4 roles, 4 plus at this point, but 4 roles in one, because Moon Knight is a character that believes he's someone at one moment, then believes he's someone else at the other moment. Incorporation of crime and just kind of the underworld of the MCU. Moon Knight 100%. I think he should get a television show, but if he got a movie, I would love it just as much.
Of all the films that are coming out this year, which I'm sure you know about, is there one particular one that if you could only watch one for the rest of the year, which one would you pick?
I hate to be generic and say Star Wars. I want to throw in It Chapter 2 real quick, because that movie is fascinating me right now. But I have to, and The Lighthouse. That's a movie coming out with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, A24. That is also just speaking to me. It's in my ear whispering, you have to see me. Oh, me too. It is slowly becoming my favorite studio. But I'm going to say Star Wars only because I want to see what JJ does with Rian Johnson's, I'm not going to say mishap to some. I enjoyed the movie, but it's a movie that is extremely divisive. So you have to take what JJ planted in the first, you have to bring that back, but you also have to fix the mistakes of Rian Johnson, but you have to keep a lot of those decisions that he made to keep the narrative cohesive. So that is a task that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. J.J. Abrams is doing it, so I want to see how that movie turns out. So because of that, I'm going to be completely generic and say Star Wars Episode 9.
Great. Austin, I think that's like I've inundated you with a mountain of questions.
Okay.
Thank you so much for spending the time with us. How many voices can you do? And how do you come up with your intros?
Oh man, I do a lot of, I used to dress up like Captain Jack Sparrow and no joke, go to like parties and things like that. And I can do a really good Heath Ledger Joker. At one point in high school, I wanted to be a voice artist. So I would log in a little notebook how many voices I could do, and I think I got up to like 40 or 45 at one point. So that I would practice in the mirror, and it got annoying. So I'm like, I probably shouldn't do this, but I like to incorporate that in my reviews. And in terms of the intros, I mean, I get to the point now to where I want to come up with a better and better introduction to my videos every single time. A lot of them are cheesy, a lot of them are cornball. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know, what's Austin going to do this time? It's going to be really cringeworthy, but what's he going to do? So that's kind of my goal, is to do like the weirdest opening, just because I think people expect that at this point. And I have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, it's great. Can you choose one voice for us as we say goodbye?
I'll try to do Jack Sparrow. It's been a while since I've done it. Okay, here we go. I've not talked like this in a while, but sometimes I like to walk outside of my house and I look for rum, and it's like buried deep, like the treasure, but I find it, and then I drink the rum, and then I pass out, and no one knows that I was there in the first place. God, it's been a while since I've done that.
Oh, that's so good. Great.
Thank you, sir.
That's going to be my other ringtone.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said that's going to be my other ringtone.
You can make it your intro, Ruben. I would not be offended.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining the Ruby Tuesday. This is Austin Burke. I'm going to put all his details below, from his Patreon to his Facebook. Just have a look and see the world that is Austin Burke. Join him on Twitter as well, because I love his tweets. They're very interesting, fun, and I'm sure we will chat again sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Ruben, thank you so much for having me on. I, once again, love your channel, respect everything you do, and I appreciate the conversation today. Talking about movies, it's what I love talking about, so thank you for having me.
Thank you.